Hold on. Before I tell you this story, I need you to understand something. What you're about to hear actually happened. A billionaire CEO, his cheating wife, his secret child, and one dinner reservation that destroyed everything. But here's the twist nobody saw coming. The man sleeping with his wife? He's the brother of the woman the CEO abandoned 5 years ago, and none of them know it. Yet. I'm talking about lies buried so deep, betrayal so twisted, that when the truth finally explodes, well, let's just say an entire restaurant full of Manhattan's elite stood up to watch. This is a story about secrets, about cowardice, about redemption, and about the moment 4 lives collided in the most shocking way imaginable. So right now, tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? Because by the end of this story, you'll understand why location matters, why timing matters, and why sometimes fate has a sick sense of humor. Rate this story from 0 to 10 when we're done, because trust me, you've never heard anything like this. This is the billionaire's secret, and I promise you, you will not see this ending coming. Alexander Drake, remember that name, because this man had it all, and I mean everything. 38 years old, self-made billionaire, founder and CEO of Drake Tech Industries, a company worth $3.2 billion. His penthouse overlooked Central Park, 65th floor, floor-to-ceiling windows, the kind of view that made grown men weep. His car collection? Don't even get me started. A Bugatti, 2 Ferraris, a custom Rolls-Royce that cost more than most people's houses. His wife, Victoria? Former runway model, daughter of one of New York's most powerful real estate moguls. The kind of woman who made heads turn when she walked into a room. From the outside, Alexander Drake's life looked like a movie, like something out of a fantasy. But here's what nobody knew. Here's what the magazines and the Forbes lists and the society pages never saw. Alexander Drake was drowning. And he was drowning in 2 secrets so dark, so twisted, that they were slowly destroying him from the inside out. The first secret? His wife was cheating on him, and he knew it. He'd known for 6 months, maybe longer. The signs were all there. Late-night business dinners that went until 3 in the morning. New lingerie that mysteriously disappeared from her closet before he ever saw her wear it. The way she smiled at her phone, that secretive little smile, then locked the screen the second he walked into the room. The credit card statements. God, the credit card statements. Hotel charges. Always the same hotels. The Peninsula, the St. Regis. The kind of places you don't go for a quick lunch meeting. He knew. But here's the thing that was eating him alive, that was keeping him up at night, that had him drinking scotch at 3 in the morning while staring at the New York skyline. He didn't know who. Who was the man sleeping with his wife? Who was the guy Victoria was throwing away their 7-year marriage for? Who was worth risking everything? And that question was driving Alexander Drake absolutely insane. On this particular November evening, cold rain hammering against those floor-to-ceiling windows, Alexander sat in his corner office on the 47th floor of his building. Empty scotch glass on his desk. Phone in his hand. He dialed. Again. Raymond, his private investigator, the guy he was paying 15 grand a week, $15,000, every single week, for 3 weeks now. Mr. Drake. Raymond's voice sounded exhausted, defeated. I told you, I'll call when I have something solid. 3 weeks, Raymond. Alexander's voice was barely controlled rage. 3 weeks of following my wife. 3 weeks of surveillance, 3 weeks of $15,000 a week, and you're telling me you still don't have a name? You don't have a face? Sir, with all due respect, your wife is good. Very good. She uses cash for everything. Burner phones that she tosses after every call. She knows counter-surveillance techniques. It's like she's been trained. Then you're not good enough. Alexander slammed his hand on the desk. I don't care what it costs. I don't care what you have to do. Find out who he is. I'll keep trying, sir. Click. Alexander threw his phone across the room. It hit the leather couch, bounced off, clattered to the floor. He didn't care, but here's where this story gets really twisted. Because while Alexander Drake was obsessing over his wife's affair, while he was going crazy trying to figure out who she was sleeping with, that's how he was hiding something himself, something worse, something that made Victoria's cheating look like a parking ticket. 5 years ago, before the marriage to Victoria, before the billions, back when Drake Tech was just starting to take off, Alexander had met someone, a woman, Emily Carter. She worked at a coffee shop 3 blocks from his office. Nothing fancy, just a neighborhood place with mismatched chairs and local art on the walls. The kind of place where everybody knew your name. Emily made his cappuccino every morning, 6:30 a.m. like clockwork, and she always smiled. This genuine, warm, lights up the whole room kind of smile that made the early mornings bearable. They started talking. Just small talk at first. Weather, traffic, the Yankees. Then longer conversations, real conversations, about dreams, about fears, about what they wanted from life. And then they started dating. For 6 months, Alexander Drake felt something he had never felt before. Not with Victoria, not with anyone. Real love. Not the calculated society marriage he would eventually have with Victoria. Not the merger of 2 powerful families. Not the strategic alliance that would secure his company's funding. Real, genuine, overwhelming, can't eat, can't sleep, can't think about anything else love. And then Emily got pregnant. Alexander panicked. He completely panicked, because here's what you need to understand. At that moment, Drake Tech was about to close its Series B funding round. $50 million. From one investor. Victoria's father, Richard Rothschild. Richard Rothschild, Manhattan real estate mogul, old money. The kind of man who valued reputation above everything else. The kind of man who would never invest $50 million in a company run by someone with a scandal. A pregnant girlfriend? That was a scandal. So Alexander did the most cowardly thing imaginable. He ran, changed his phone number, avoided that coffee shop like it was radioactive, sent his assistant to handle everything, disappeared from Emily's life completely. And 3 months later, he married Victoria. Strategic alliance secured. $50 million investment secured. Company saved. But here's the thing about running from your problems. They don't actually go away. Every month for 5 years, Alexander sent money, $2,500, anonymous bank transfer to an account set up for the child's care. A boy named Daniel. A boy Alexander had never met, never held, never claimed as his own. And every single day for 5 years, that guilt ate at him, like acid, like a disease. Across the city, in a small 2-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn, Emily Carter was doing the dishes while her 5-year-old son Daniel played with toy cars on the living room floor. "Mommy?" Daniel's voice was small, innocent. "Why don't I have a daddy like the other kids?" Emily's hands stopped moving in the soapy water. This question, this terrible, heartbreaking, soul-crushing question that Daniel asked at least once a week. Every time, it felt like someone was reaching into her chest and squeezing her heart. "You do have a daddy, sweetheart," Emily said, forcing her voice to stay steady. He lives far away. Why doesn't he come visit?" "Sometimes grown-ups make choices that are hard to understand, baby. But I promise you, you are loved. So loved." Daniel seemed satisfied with that answer. For now. He went back to his cars, making little engine noises. Emily blinked back tears and went back to the dishes. She'd been doing this alone for 5 years. 2 jobs, no child support, no help. Just her and Daniel against the world. Well, not quite alone. The doorbell rang. Emily dried her hands and opened the door to find her older brother Marcus standing there with a huge smile and bags of Chinese takeout. "Your favorite brother is here," Marcus announced, walking in and immediately looking around. "Where's my little man?" "Uncle Marcus!" Daniel jumped up and ran over. Marcus scooped him up in a bear hug, and Daniel giggled with pure joy. See, Marcus wasn't just Emily's brother. He was her rock, her hero. When Alexander abandoned her while she was pregnant, Marcus was the one who held her while she cried. When money was tight and she couldn't make rent, Marcus helped. When Daniel needed a father figure for school plays and soccer games and birthday parties, Marcus showed up. Every single time. Emily loved her brother more than anyone in the world. She trusted him completely and absolutely, which made what came next so much worse. Because here's what Emily didn't know. Here's what Marcus had been hiding for 2 solid years. Marcus Bennett worked as Alexander Drake's personal driver, and for the past 6 months, Marcus had been having an affair with Alexander's wife, Victoria. Yeah, wrap your head around that one. The man who showed up for Daniel's soccer games, he worked for the man who abandoned Daniel. The man Emily trusted with her life. He was sleeping with the wife of the man who destroyed her life. And Marcus had no idea that his boss, Alexander, and his sister's ex, Alex, were the same person. Because Emily, in her pain and her anger, had never told Marcus Alexander's last name. She just called him Alex. That bastard Alex, the coward who ran. And Marcus, trying to respect his sister's privacy, had never pushed for details. So for 2 years, Marcus had been working for Alexander Drake, driving him around Manhattan, listening to him complain about his marriage, watching him slowly fall apart. And he had no idea that this was the same man who had abandoned his sister. No idea. Until 6 months ago. 6 months ago, Marcus had been cleaning out Alexander's car after a business trip, and he'd found a paper. Just a random piece of paper that had fallen under the seat. A bank statement. Anonymous monthly transfer. $2,500. To an account in the name of Emily Carter. Emily Carter. His sister's name. Marcus had stared at that paper for a full minute, his brain trying to make sense of what he was seeing. And then it clicked. The timeline matched. 5 years of payments. Daniel was 5 years old. His boss, Alexander Drake, was Daniel's father. The man who had abandoned his sister was sitting in the back seat of this car every single day. Marcus should have quit right then. Should have confronted Alexander, should have told Emily. But he didn't, because by that point, he'd been seeing Victoria for a month. Beautiful, sophisticated, exciting Victoria. And he was falling for her. Hard. And if he told Emily the truth, if he revealed who his boss really was, she'd demand he quit, and he'd lose Victoria. So Marcus made a choice. A terrible, selfish choice. He kept quiet. He kept working for Alexander, kept seeing Victoria, kept lying to his sister. And every day, that lie got bigger and heavier and harder to carry. So sis, Marcus said now, setting the Chinese food out on Emily's small kitchen table. I got some big news. Emily raised an eyebrow. Good news or bad news? Good news. Great news, actually. You know that girl I've been seeing? The one I've been all mysterious about? Emily smiled. The woman you refused to tell me anything about? That one? Her name is Victoria. And Marcus took a breath. I think she might be the one. Emily's face lit up. She loved seeing her brother happy. After everything he'd done for her, he deserved happiness. Marcus, that's amazing. When do I get to meet her? That's why I'm here. I want to set up a dinner. This Saturday. You, me, Victoria, and that new guy you've been dating. What's his name again? Christopher. Chris. He's a financial consultant. We've been seeing each other for about 3 months. Perfect. So Saturday night, there's this place called the Crown Restaurant. Victoria loves it there. Emily hesitated. Marcus, that place is like $200 a plate. I can't afford it. My treat, all of it. This is important to me, Em. I really want you to meet her. I want her to see my real life, my real family. Emily hugged her brother tight. I'm so happy for you, Marcus. You deserve someone special. Thanks, sis. What Emily didn't know was that Victoria was married, that Marcus was having an affair with a billionaire's wife, that this whole situation was a ticking time bomb with a very short fuse, and that bomb was about to go off on Saturday night. Meanwhile, back at the penthouse, Alexander was watching Victoria get ready to go out. Again. She stood in front of her vanity mirror, applying mascara with the precision of a surgeon. Diamond earrings, cocktail dress, the whole production. Going out again? Alexander's voice was cold, flat. Charity board meeting, Victoria said without turning around. For the Children's Hospital Foundation. I told you about it last week, Alex. Right. The charity meeting. That requires a $3,000 dress and Harry Winston diamonds. Now Victoria turned, her eyes flashing with annoyance. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Just seems like an interesting fashion choice for a board meeting. You know what your problem is, Alex? You're paranoid. You think everything I do is suspicious. You can't just trust me. Alexander stepped closer, studied her face in the mirror. Should I trust you, Victoria? For just a moment, just a split second, Alexander saw something flicker across her face. Fear? Guilt? But then it was gone, replaced by that cool, practiced smile she wore so well. You're being ridiculous. I'll be home by 11. She grabbed her Hermes bag, the one that cost $12,000, and walked past him without another word, without a kiss, without even looking back. Alexander walked to the window and watched as Victoria got into the black Mercedes S-Class parked in front of their building. His driver, Marcus, was behind the wheel, professional as always, opening the door for her, waiting until she was settled before closing it. Alexander studied Marcus through the window. Mid-30s, athletic build, always polite, always on time. Could it be him? Could his own driver be the man sleeping with his wife? No, that would be too obvious, too risky. Marcus had worked for him for 2 years. Surely he wouldn't be that stupid. But then again, people do incredibly stupid things for love, or for money, or for whatever they think they're getting. Alexander made a mental note to have Raymond investigate Marcus too, just to be thorough. What Alexander didn't know, what he couldn't see from 65 floors up, was that at that very moment, as Marcus drove away from the building, Victoria reached over and took his hand. He's getting suspicious, Victoria said quietly. Marcus's grip tightened on the steering wheel. Maybe we should cool it for a while. Take a break. Just until… No, Victoria's voice was firm. I'm not getting you up, Marcus. I love you. Marcus glanced at her, and despite everything, despite the lies and the risk and the insanity of it all, his heart did that stupid flutter thing it always did when she looked at him like that. I love you too, but Victoria, if he finds out, he won't. We've been careful. And besides, she smiled. That calculating smile that should have been a warning sign, but that Marcus was too far gone to recognize. I'm working on something. What kind of something? A plan. Soon, very soon, Alexander and I are going to be divorced. And when we are, I'll walk away with half of everything he owns. $1.5 billion. And then you and I, we can be together. Publicly. No more hiding, no more sneaking around. Marcus should have felt happy, should have felt excited about this future she was describing. But something in Victoria's tone made him deeply uneasy. There was something she wasn't telling him, something dark lurking beneath that smile. But Marcus was in too deep now. He'd lied to his sister, betrayed his boss, risked everything. There was no way out except forward. Back at his penthouse, Alexander was sitting in his study, staring at an old photograph he kept hidden in his desk drawer. Emily, 5 years ago, at that coffee shop, laughing at something, her eyes bright and full of life and hope, back before he destroyed everything. I'm sorry, Emily. Alexander whispered to the photograph. I'm so sorry. His phone buzzed, a text from his other private investigator, the one he'd hired separately, the one Raymond didn't know about, the one he'd hired to find Emily and Daniel. Found her. Emily Carter, still in Brooklyn, works 2 jobs, raising the boy alone. I have an address. What do you want me to do? Alexander's heart started pounding so hard he could hear it in his ears. 5 years. 5 years of anonymous money. 5 years of wondering. 5 years of guilt that was slowly poisoning him from the inside out. And now, finally, he had a way to reach them. His fingers hovered over the phone keyboard. What would he say? How could he possibly explain abandoning them? How could he ask for forgiveness for something so completely unforgivable? And the timing. God, the timing was terrible. His marriage was falling apart. His wife was cheating. His life was a disaster. Was now really the time to add another complication? But then he thought about Daniel, a 5-year-old boy who didn't know his father, a boy who probably asked Emily questions. Where's my daddy? Why doesn't he come see me? Doesn't he love me? Questions that had no good answers. Alexander made a decision. He texted back. Set up a meeting. This Saturday, 3 p.m., somewhere neutral, a coffee shop. Tell her someone wants to discuss Daniel's future. Don't mention my name yet. He hit send before he could change his mind. Terror and hope flooded through him in equal measure. Terror that Emily would refuse to see him. Hope that maybe, just maybe, he could fix at least one of the massive mistakes in his life. What Alexander didn't know, what he couldn't possibly know, was that in exactly 3 days, on Saturday night, at the Crown Restaurant, every single secret would collide. Emily would be there with her boyfriend Christopher and her brother Marcus. Marcus would be there with his girlfriend Victoria. And through a series of coincidences that seemed almost cosmically designed, Alexander would be there too. 4 lives, 4 secrets, 1 restaurant. And when the truth finally came out, it would destroy everything. Saturday morning, Alexander woke up at 6 a.m. with a knot in his stomach so tight he could barely breathe. Today was the day. Today, he would see Emily for the first time in 5 years. Today, he would try to explain the inexplicable. Today, he would look into the eyes of the woman he'd abandoned and beg for a chance to know his son. Victoria was already gone. He'd barely noticed her leave. A text on his phone, shopping with the girls, don't wait up, which almost certainly meant she was meeting Marcus somewhere. Alexander didn't care anymore. Let her have her affair. Soon, she'd be someone else's problem. At 2:30 p.m., Alexander stood outside Brooklyn Coffee House, hands shaking, heart racing, feeling more nervous than he'd felt before any business presentation or investor pitch in his entire life. This was different. This was Emily. He walked in, ordered a black coffee he wouldn't drink, sat at a corner table with his back to the wall, and waited. 2:55. The door opened, and there she was. Emily. Alexander's breath caught in his throat. She was even more beautiful than he remembered. Her hair was longer now, pulled back in a simple ponytail. She looked tired, like someone who worked too hard and slept too little. There were lines around her eyes that hadn't been there 5 years ago. But those eyes, God, those eyes still had that warmth, that light. Emily scanned the coffee shop, clearly looking for whoever she was supposed to meet. Their eyes met, and Emily's face went completely white. Alexander? The word came out as barely a whisper. Alexander stood up, his legs shaking. Hi, Emily. What are you doing here? Emily's voice was rising, attracting stares. The message said someone wanted to talk about Daniel's future. I thought it was a social worker or... It was me. I sent the message. I asked you to come. Emily's shock transformed into pure fury in about 2 seconds flat. You? After 5 years, you ambush me in a coffee shop? Emily, please. Just give me 5 minutes, that's all I'm asking. 5 minutes? Emily laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. You think 5 minutes makes up for 5 years? People were definitely staring now. The barista had stopped making drinks. 2 college students at a nearby table were openly watching. Emily lowered her voice, but the anger was still there, sharp as broken glass. You abandoned us, Alexander. You left me pregnant and alone. Do you have any idea what that was like? Do you have any clue how many nights I cried myself to sleep? How many times Daniel has asked me where his father is? How many times I've had to lie to my own son about why his daddy doesn't love him? Every word hit Alexander like a physical blow. I know, Alexander said, his voice breaking. I know I was a coward. I know I failed you both in every possible way. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even think I deserve the chance to ask. But Emily, please, I just want to meet him. I want to be part of his life. Now, Emily's eyes were blazing. After 5 years, now you want to be a father? Now that it's convenient for you? It's not about convenience. Then what is it about, Alexander? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like your perfect life fell apart, and suddenly you remembered you have a son. You're right. Alexander slumped back in his chair. You're absolutely right about everything. I was scared. I was selfish. I chose my company over you. I chose money and status and my image over my own child. Emily, I sent money every month. Money? Emily's laugh was harsh. You think money is what Daniel needs? He doesn't need your bank transfers, Alexander. He needs a father, someone to teach him how to ride a bike, someone to read him bedtime stories, someone to show up to his school plays, someone to just be there. Then let me be there. Please, let me try to fix this. Emily stared at him for a long moment. You're married, Alexander. I saw the announcement in the business section. You married Victoria Rothschild 2 years after you left me. So tell me, how exactly does your wife feel about your secret 5-year-old son? Alexander's jaw tightened. Victoria and I are getting divorced. Oh, how convenient. It's not like that. Then what is it like, Alexander? Enlighten me. Did you suddenly grow a conscience? Did you wake up one day and decide to play daddy? Alexander couldn't meet her eyes. My marriage has been over for a long time, and yes, ending it made me realize I've wasted 5 years. I've wasted the first 5 years of my son's life. I don't want to waste another day. Emily sat down across from him, exhausted. He doesn't know who you are. I told him his father lived far away, that you loved him but couldn't be with us. You told him I loved him? What was I supposed to say, Alexander? That his father was too much of a coward to claim him? That you chose your precious company over your own child? That you valued your reputation more than your family? Each word was a knife. Alexander took them all. He deserved every single one. I'm sorry, Alexander said quietly. I am so sorry. Emily. Emily wiped tears from her eyes. Why now? Why after all this time? Because I can't do it anymore. I can't pretend he doesn't exist. Emily, every single day for 5 years, I've thought about him. Wondered what he looks like, what his voice sounds like, if he has my smile or your laugh, what his favorite food is, what he's scared of, what makes him happy. I've been living half a life, and I can't. I don't want to waste another day. Emily pulled out her phone with shaking hands, showed Alexander a photo. A little boy with dark hair and bright eyes, smiling at the camera with a missing front tooth, wearing a superhero cape. That's Daniel, Emily said softly. He's 5. He loves dinosaurs and superhero movies. He's terrified of thunderstorms, but pretends he's not brave. He wants to be an astronaut when he grows up. He's kind to everyone, even the mean kids at school, and he asks about you every single week. Alexander stared at the photo, tears streaming down his face. He's beautiful. He looks just like you. He looks just like you. Same eyes, same smile, everyone sees it. They sat in silence for a moment, both of them crying quietly. There's something else you should know, Emily said finally. I'm seeing someone. Christopher. He's good with Daniel. Daniel likes him. Alexander felt a sharp stab of jealousy, but forced it down. I'm glad. You deserve someone good. I don't need your approval, Alexander. I know. I want you to be happy. Emily laughed sadly. You want me to be happy? 5 years ago, you were my happiness, and you destroyed it. You took my happiness and you threw it away like it was nothing. I know. So what now? You think you can just walk back into our lives and play father? You think Daniel's gonna just accept you? I don't know, Alexander admitted. I don't have a plan. I don't have answers. I just know I need to try. Please, Emily, let me try. Emily closed her eyes, thinking hard. Finally, she said, there's a dinner tonight, at the Crown Restaurant. My brother Marcus is introducing me to his girlfriend. My boyfriend Christopher will be there too. It's at 8 o'clock. Why are you telling me this? Because if you're serious about being in Daniel's life, you need to meet the people who are already in it. Marcus has been more of a father to Daniel than you ever were, and Christopher might be a permanent part of our future. So if you want to prove you're serious, if you want to show me you're not gonna run away again, show up tonight. Tonight? Emily, I don't think. 8 o'clock, Alexander, the Crown Restaurant. If you're not there, I'll know you're still the same coward you were 5 years ago. I'll know this was just talk, just more empty promises. Emily stood up and walked out of the coffee shop without looking back. Alexander sat there stunned. The Crown Restaurant. Victoria's favorite place. The place she'd mentioned 100 times. What were the odds? But he had to go. He had to prove to Emily he was serious. He had no idea he was walking straight into a trap fate had been setting for years. Meanwhile, Marcus was at home getting ready for dinner, more nervous than he'd ever been in his life. He bought a new suit, expensive cologne. He wanted everything to be perfect. This was the night Victoria would meet his family, his real family, and Emily would meet the woman he loved. Victoria had texted him that morning. "Can't wait for tonight, baby. It's going to change everything." Marcus had smiled when he read it, thinking she meant that dinner with his family was a big step in their relationship. What Marcus didn't know was that Victoria had her own agenda for tonight. See, Victoria was smart. She'd figured out that if Alexander filed for divorce first, she'd have to fight for every penny. But if she could make him look bad publicly, if she could create a scene, paint herself as the victim, she could control the narrative, control the settlement. And tonight, at the Crown Restaurant, in front of witnesses, Victoria was going to make her move. She was going to push Alexander until he snapped. At 7:45 p.m., Alexander arrived at the Crown Restaurant. His hands were sweating. His heart was pounding. He felt like he might throw up. The hostess greeted him with a professional smile. "Good evening, Mr. Drake. Your usual table?" "Actually, no, I'm meeting some people. Separate reservation, under the name Carter, or Bennett, Marcus Bennett." The hostess checked her computer. "Yes, Marcus Bennett, party of 4. They haven't arrived yet. Would you like to wait at the bar?" "No, I'll wait here." At 7:50, Marcus and Victoria arrived. They walked in holding hands, laughing about something. Alexander looked up, and time stopped. Victoria, his wife, holding hands with Marcus, his driver. Everything clicked into place in that horrible, crystal-clear moment. The affair, the late nights, the hotel charges. It was Marcus, his own driver, the man he trusted, the man he paid. The man who drove Victoria everywhere. It was him. Victoria and Marcus still hadn't seen Alexander. They were too wrapped up in each other. Then Victoria looked up. Her eyes met Alexander's, and her face went completely, utterly white. "Alexander," she breathed. Marcus turned, saw his boss standing there, and the color drained from his face too. "Mr. Drake?" Marcus's voice was barely a whisper. What are you doing here?" And then Alexander understood everything. "You." His voice was shaking with rage. "You're the one. You're sleeping with my wife." People in the restaurant were starting to turn and stare. Marcus looked like he might pass out. "Mr. Drake, I can explain." "Explain?" Alexander's voice was getting louder. "You're sleeping with my wife, and you think you can explain? I trusted you. I paid you. You drove her around in my car to meet you." Victoria stepped forward, her shock transforming into defiance. "Alexander, calm down. We can discuss this like adults." "Discuss this? You've been having an affair with my employee." "In my face. Probably in my apartment." "Your apartment?" Victoria laughed coldly. "Everything you own is half mine, Alexander. We've been married for 7 years. Community property." Not for much longer. And that's when Emily walked in, holding Daniel's hand, Christopher right behind them. Emily saw Marcus first. "Marcus, we're here. We found parking just." Then she saw Victoria. beautiful, elegant Victoria in a designer dress. Then she saw Alexander, and the world tilted on its axis. "Alexander?" Emily's whisper cut through the noise of the restaurant. Marcus turned and saw his sister. His face went from white to green. "Emily? What? Why are you here?" Emily's brain was trying to process what she was seeing. "Marcus, you said we were meeting your girlfriend. I'm here for dinner with you." Marcus's voice was barely audible. This is the dinner. You're here for—" Oh God. Oh God, no." And then Daniel, sweet innocent Daniel, looked up at Alexander. Something in the boy's face recognized something in the man's face. Some genetic memory, some DNA deep recognition. "Mommy," Daniel said quietly, his small voice somehow carrying through the entire restaurant. "Why does that man have my eyes?" Emily looked at Daniel, then at Alexander, then at Marcus and Victoria, still holding hands. And suddenly, impossibly, she understood everything. "Marcus," her voice was deadly calm. "Where do you work?" Marcus couldn't speak, couldn't move. "Marcus, where do you work?" I'm a driver." "For who?" Silence. "For who?" "Marcus?" "For Alexander Drake." The words exploded like a bomb in that silent restaurant. Emily's eyes went wide. "You work for him? For Alexander? The man who abandoned me? The man who left me pregnant and alone? You've been working for him this whole time and you never told me?" I swear I didn't know at first. When I got the job 2 years ago, I had no idea he was your Alex. You never told me his last name. And when you figured it out, when did you put it together?" Marcus looked at the floor. 6 months ago, I found a paper, a bank statement with your name on it, and I realized. 6 months. Emily's voice was ice. "You knew for 6 months and you didn't tell me. I didn't know what to say. You were finally happy. You were moving on. I didn't want to drag up the past." Emily turned to Victoria, who was still standing there holding Marcus's hand. "And you're his wife. You're married to Alexander." Victoria lifted her chin defiantly. "We're separated." "Since when?" "That's none of your business." Amelie laughed, a harsh, broken sound that made everyone in the restaurant flinch. "None of my business? You're sleeping with my brother, the man who's been lying to me for 6 months. Everything about this is my business." Christopher stepped forward, completely lost. "Emily, I don't understand. Who is Alexander? What's going on?" Emily pointed at Alexander, her hand shaking. "He's Daniel's father, the man I told you about, the man who abandoned us 5 years ago." Christopher's eyes went wide. "Wait, the billionaire? You dated a billionaire and never told me?" "I didn't know he was a billionaire. I knew him as Alex, who worked at a tech startup." And then Daniel, who had been quietly processing all of this with those big, intelligent eyes, looked up at Alexander again. "Are you my daddy?" he asked in the smallest, most heartbreaking voice imaginable. The entire restaurant went silent. Waiters froze mid-step. Conversations died. Everyone was staring. Alexander knelt down to Daniel's level, tears streaming down his face. "Yes," he said, his voice breaking. "Yes, I'm your daddy, and I am so sorry I haven't been here." Daniel stared at him for a long moment, and then he did something no one expected. He balled up his small fist and hit Alexander in the chest. Not hard. A 5-year-old doesn't have much strength, but it might as well have been a sledgehammer. "You left us." Daniel was crying now, his small body shaking with sobs. "You left us, and Mommy cried all the time. I heard her. At night when she thought I was sleeping. Why did you leave us? Don't you love us?" Alexander pulled Daniel into his arms, sobbing openly, not caring who saw, not caring about anything except this moment. "I do love you. I love you so much. I was scared. I was stupid. I made the worst mistake of my entire life. But I'm here now. I'm here, and I swear to you, I swear on everything I own, I am never leaving again." Emily watched this scene. her heart breaking into a million pieces all over again. Then she turned to Marcus, her brother, her rock, the man she'd trusted more than anyone in the world. How could you? Her voice was barely a whisper. How could you work for him every day and not tell me? How could you watch me struggle with 2 jobs, watch Daniel ask about his father, watch me cry? And you knew where Alexander was this whole time. Marcus's voice broke. I thought I was protecting you. Protecting me? By lying? By working for the man who destroyed my life? I didn't know what to do. If I told you, you'd make me quit. And I was with Victoria by then. I couldn't lose her. Emily's eyes went cold. So you chose her, a woman you barely knew, over me, over Daniel. It's not fair. Fair? Emily's voice rose. You want to talk about fair? Nothing about this is fair. Victoria suddenly spoke up, her voice cutting through the emotion. This is all very touching, truly. But can we discuss how this affects me? I'm having an affair with the brother of my husband's baby mama. Do you have any idea what this is going to do to my reputation? This is a PR nightmare. Everyone turned to stare at Victoria in absolute disbelief. Are you serious right now? Emily said. A child just met his father for the first time in 5 years, and you're worried about your reputation? My reputation is everything. Alexander stood up, still holding Daniel. Your reputation? You destroyed our marriage, Victoria. You're having an affair with my employee, with the brother of the woman whose life I ruined. This is karma. This is what we deserve. What we deserve? Victoria's voice was shrill now. You have a secret child, a 5-year-old son you never told me about. How long were you planning to keep that lie going? I was going to tell you after the divorce. How convenient. Marcus stepped between them, his voice desperate. Stop. Everyone just stop. He turned to Emily, tears in his eyes. Em, I know I screwed up. I know I should have told you. But I was trapped. I love Victoria. And I love you and Daniel. I thought I could have both. I thought I could make it work. Emily shook her head slowly. You love her? Marcus, she's married. She's using you. That's not true, Marcus protested. Really? Emily turned to Victoria, her voice sharp. Tell him. Tell my brother right now. Are you leaving your husband for him? Are you getting divorced so you two can be together? Victoria hesitated, just for a second. But it was enough. Marcus saw it. Victoria? Marcus, it's complicated. The divorce, the settlement, the money. The money. Marcus's voice was flat. This is about money. The settlement. I deserve half of what we built together. We? Alexander's laugh was bitter. You didn't build anything, Victoria. You married money and spent it. You went to parties and charity galas while I built the company. You contributed nothing. The restaurant was completely silent now. This was better than any reality TV show. Marcus stepped back from Victoria like she'd slapped him. I thought you loved me. I do love you, but I also deserve financial security. I've been married to Alexander for 7 years. I gave up my modeling career. I'm entitled to compensation. Compensation? Marcus repeated the word like it was foreign. I was just compensation. A way to make him jealous. A way to improve your settlement. That's not... Marcus, it's not that simple. Yes, it is. It's exactly that simple. Marcus turned to Emily. I'm sorry, Em. I'm so sorry. I was stupid. I was selfish. I let her use me, and I lied to you, and I don't know how to fix any of it. Emily's voice was thick with tears. I need time, Marcus, to think, to process all of this. Daniel tugged on Alexander's sleeve. Daddy, can we go home now? This place is scary, and everyone's yelling. Alexander looked down at his son, and felt his heart break and heal at the same time. Yes, buddy, we can go. He looked at Emily. Can I drive you home? Please? We need to talk. Really talk. About Daniel. About how to do this right. Emily looked at Christopher, who nodded sadly. Go. You two need to figure this out. I'll grab a cab. Chris, I'm sorry. Don't be. This is big. This is family. Go. Emily took Daniel's hand. Okay. As they started walking toward the exit, Marcus called out, Wait, please. Emily stopped but didn't turn around. I need time, Marcus. I need to figure out if I can trust you again. I understand. I love you, sis. I know. That's what makes this so much worse. Victoria grabbed Marcus's arm. Marcus, we need to talk about damage control. We need to get our story straight before this hits the press. Marcus yanked his arm away. No, we're done. I was an idiot to think you actually cared about me. Go back to your lawyers. Plan your settlement. I don't care anymore. Marcus, I said we're done. Marcus walked out of the restaurant alone, leaving Victoria standing there in her designer dress, suddenly realizing she'd lost everything. Her marriage, her affair, her meal ticket. The other diners slowly went back to their meals, whispering excitedly about the drama they'd just witnessed. Alexander drove Emily and Daniel back to Brooklyn in complete silence. Daniel had fallen asleep in the back seat, exhausted from the emotional overload. When they arrived at Emily's apartment building, Alexander gently lifted Daniel out of the car seat and carried him upstairs. Emily unlocked the door to her modest two-bedroom apartment. Alexander looked around at the worn furniture, the toys scattered on the floor, the pictures on the fridge, Daniel's artwork, a crayon drawing of 3 stick figures holding hands. He laid Daniel gently on his bed. The boy stirred slightly but didn't wake. Alexander stared at him for a long moment. He's perfect, he whispered. Yes, Emily agreed from the doorway. He is. They moved to the small living room. Emily sat on the couch. Alexander sat in the chair across from her. So what now? Emily asked. I want to be his father. Really be his father. Not just weekend visits and child support. I want to be there. For everything. What about your life, your company, your divorce? I'll figure it out. Emily, I've spent 5 years running from the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm done running. I'm done being a coward. Emily studied him. He's going to have questions, hard questions. I'll answer them, honestly. And when he asks why you left, Alexander's voice cracked. I'll tell him the truth, that I was scared, that I was selfish, that I chose money and reputation over him and you, that leaving was the worst mistake I've ever made, that I hate myself for it, that I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make it up to him. Emily nodded slowly. Okay, but we do this slowly, for Daniel's sake. You can't just show up and expect to be Dad of the Year overnight. I know. Whatever you need, whatever timeline works for you. And Alexander, if you hurt him again, if you disappear, if you break your promises, I will never ever forgive you. And I will make sure he knows exactly what kind of man his father is. I understand. I won't disappear. I swear to you, Emily, I won't. They sat in silence for a moment. I really did love you, Emily said softly. 5 years ago, I loved you so much. I loved you too. I still. Alexander stopped himself. I'm sorry, I don't have the right. No, you don't. Can I ask you something? Maybe. Christopher, are you serious about him? Emily sighed. I don't know. He's a good man. He's stable. He's kind to Daniel. But he's not you. And I hate that I just said that. I hate that after everything you did, some part of me still… I know. I'm sorry. Stop apologizing and start showing up. That's what Daniel needs. That's what I need to see. I will. I promise. 3 months. It doesn't sound like a long time, does it? 3 months, 90 days, 12 weeks. But sometimes 3 months can change everything. Alexander's divorce from Victoria was finalized exactly 6 weeks after that night at the Crown restaurant. She got a settlement, $5 million plus the penthouse, not even close to the $1.5 billion she'd been dreaming of. Turns out, having an affair documented by multiple witnesses, including an entire restaurant full of Manhattan's elite, really tanks your negotiating position. Victoria moved to Los Angeles. Last Alexander heard, she was dating a movie producer. He wished her well. Honestly, he did. She was someone else's problem now. Marcus had quit his job and moved to Boston. He and Emily were slowly rebuilding their relationship, but it was going to take time. Trust, once broken, doesn't repair quickly. Christopher and Emily had ended things amicably about a month after the restaurant incident. He'd understood that Emily needed to focus on Daniel and figure out the co-parenting situation with Alexander. He'd been a gentleman about it, wished her well, even sent Daniel a birthday present. And Alexander? Alexander had done something radical. He'd stepped back from Drake Tech Industries, promoted his COO to CEO, taken on a chairman role that gave him oversight but freed up his time. Time for what actually mattered. Time for Daniel. On this particular Saturday morning, sunny and warm, Alexander was at a park in Brooklyn. Not Central Park with its manicured lawns and tourists. A neighborhood park, with swings and slides and other kids playing. He was teaching Daniel how to ride a bike. "I'm scared, Daddy," Daniel called out, wobbling on the two-wheeler. "I've got you, buddy. I won't let you fall. Promise?" "Promise." Alexander ran alongside the bike, one hand on the seat, as Daniel pedaled faster and faster, his little legs pumping with determination. "You're doing it, Daniel. You're doing it. Don't let go. Don't let go." "I won't let go." But slowly, carefully, Alexander did let go, and Daniel rode on his own for 10 beautiful, perfect seconds, until he realized what had happened and wobbled to a stop, nearly falling but catching himself. "I did it!" Daniel shouted, his face lit up with pure joy. "Daddy, did you see? I did it all by myself." Alexit picked Daniel up and spun him around, both of them laughing. "You did it! I'm so proud of you, buddy." Emily watched from a bench nearby, smiling. Over the past 3 months, she'd watched Alexander transform. He showed up every single time, every Wednesday dinner, every weekend visit, every bedtime story he could manage. He wasn't perfect. He still worked too much sometimes. He still occasionally said the wrong thing or made rookie dad mistakes. But he was trying, really, genuinely trying, and that was enough. Alexander walked over with Daniel on his shoulders, the boy making airplane noises and spreading his arms wide. "He's a natural," Alexander said, sitting down next to Emily. "He gets that from you," Emily said, "the determination. He gets his kindness from you, his laugh, too." They smiled at each other, not romantic anymore. That ship had sailed and sunk 5 years ago, but something better had taken its place. Partnership, mutual respect, co-parenting that actually worked. Maybe even friendship. "Thank you," Alexander said quietly. "For what?" "For giving me a second chance, for letting me be his father. I know I didn't deserve it." Emily looked up at Daniel, who was singing a made-up song about bicycles and superheroes. "You're doing the work, Alex. You're showing up. You're being present. That's all I ever wanted. That's all Daniel needs." Daniel climbed down from Alexander's shoulders and tugged on both their hands. "Can we get ice cream? Please? I rode my bike all by myself." "That means I earned ice cream." Alexander looked at Emily. "What do you think, Mom?" Emily laughed. "Ice cream sounds perfect." As they walked toward the ice cream truck, Daniel between them holding both their hands, Alexander felt something he hadn't felt in 5 years. Peace. Real, genuine, deep in your bones peace. He'd made terrible mistakes. He'd hurt people he loved. He'd wasted 5 years being a coward, running from responsibility, choosing money and status over family. But he was here now, and he was never leaving again. "Daddy?" Daniel asked, licking his chocolate ice cream cone. "Yeah, buddy." "I'm glad you came back." Alexander knelt down and looked his son in the eyes. "Me too, Daniel. Me too. And I promise you, I'm not going anywhere. Not ever again." "You promise, promise? Like really promise?" "I promise, promise. Cross my heart." Daniel threw his arms around Alexander's neck. "I love you, Daddy." Alexander closed his eyes, holding his son close. "I love you too, buddy. So much." As the sun set over Brooklyn, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Alexander Drake finally understood what it meant to be truly wealthy. It wasn't about the billions in his bank account. It wasn't about the penthouse or the cars or the company. It was this moment, his son's arms around his neck, Emily's smile as she watched them, the taste of chocolate ice cream, the sound of children playing. The feeling of being exactly where he was supposed to be, doing exactly what he was supposed to do. Being a father, being present, being there. He'd spent 38 years chasing success, chasing money, chasing status and power and all the things he thought mattered, and it had taken losing everything, his marriage, his pride, his reputation, to finally understand what actually mattered. Love, family, second chances, the willingness to admit you were wrong, the courage to show up even when you're terrified, the strength to be vulnerable, to be imperfect, to be human. Marcus had texted him last week. Just 3 words, "How's my nephew?" Alexander had sent back a photo, Daniel on his shoulders, both of them grinning. Marcus had replied, "He looks happy. Thank you for showing up." They hadn't talked beyond that. The wound was still too fresh. But maybe, someday, they could find a way forward. Not as employer and employee, not as rivals, but as 2 men who both loved Daniel and Emily. Maybe. Victoria had called once, drunk, from Los Angeles, crying about how she'd lost everything. Alexander had listened for 5 minutes, then gently told her that she hadn't lost everything. She'd lost things, material things, but things weren't everything. She'd hung up on him. He hoped she'd figure it out eventually, hoped she'd find whatever she was looking for. But that was her journey now, not his. His journey was here, in Brooklyn at the park, teaching his son to ride a bike, making Wednesday night dinners, reading bedtime stories. Being there for the small moments that turned out to be the big moments. "Mommy, Daddy, look!" Daniel was pointing at the sky. "A shooting star, make a wish." They all looked up. A streak of light across the darkening sky. "What did you wish for, buddy?" Emily asked. "I can't tell you, then it won't come true." Alexander smiled. He knew what he'd wished for. More moments like this, more days at the park, more ice cream and bike rides and bedtime stories, more chances to be the father he should have been from the beginning, more time with his son. As they walked back to Emily's apartment, Daniel fell asleep on Alexander's shoulder, sticky ice cream hands and all. Emily unlocked the door, and Alexander carried Daniel to his room, laid him gently in bed, pulled the covers up. "Good night, buddy," he whispered. "I love you." "Love you too, Daddy," Daniel murmured without opening his eyes. Alexander stood in the doorway for a moment, just watching his son sleep. Emily came up beside him. "He's crazy about you. The feeling is mutual. Same time next Wednesday?" "Actually," Alexander took a breath, "I was thinking, maybe I could take him for the whole weekend next week, if that's okay with you. We could go to the Natural History Museum. He keeps talking about dinosaurs." Emily studied him. "The whole weekend? Only if you're comfortable. I know it's a big step, but I want to be a real dad, not just the fun weekend guy. I want him to have a drawer at my place. I want bedtime routines and morning pancakes and all of it." Emily smiled. "Okay, the whole weekend. But Alex? He still has nightmares sometimes, about being alone. And when he does, I'll be there. I'll sit with him. I'll read him stories until he falls back asleep. Whatever he needs." "Okay then, the whole weekend." They stood there for a moment. 2 people who'd loved each other once, who'd hurt each other, who were finding their way to something new. "You're a good dad," Emily said softly. "I'm trying to be. That's all that matters, the trying." And as Alexander drove home through the Brooklyn streets, he realized something profound. He'd spent 5 years thinking he'd made an irreversible mistake, that some things couldn't be fixed, that he'd destroyed his chance at happiness. But maybe, just maybe, it's never too late. Never too late to apologize, to show up, to do the work, to be better. Never too late for second chances. Never too late to become the person you should have been all along. His phone buzzed. A text from Daniel's school. No, wait. Emily had added him to the parent contact list. It was a reminder about parent-teacher conferences next month. Alexander smiled and added it to his calendar. Parent-teacher conferences. He was going to parent-teacher conferences. A year ago, he would have laughed at the idea. conferences and bike rides and bedtime stories. That wasn't his life. But now that was exactly his life. And he wouldn't trade it for anything. Not for $1 billion, not for another successful company, not for anything in the world. Because Alexander Drake had finally learned the most important lesson of his life. Success isn't measured in dollars or deals or quarterly earnings. It's measured in moments, in small hands holding yours, in "I love you, Daddy," in sticky ice cream kisses and proud smiles when your son rides his bike for the first time. It's measured in showing up every single day, no matter what. And as Alexander Drake pulled into his building's parking garage, he made himself a promise. He would show up every Wednesday, every weekend, every moment Daniel needed him. For the rest of his life, he was done running, done being a coward, done making excuses. He was a father now, and nothing, absolutely nothing, was more important than that. So what did you think of Alexander, Emily, and Daniel's story? Sometimes the worst mistakes lead to the most important lessons. Sometimes you have to lose everything to understand what really matters. And sometimes, if you're lucky, if you're willing to do the work, you get a second chance. Let me know in the comments, what would you have done in Alexander's position? And have you ever gotten a second chance you didn't deserve? Rate this story from 0 to 10. And if you want to hear more stories like this, stories about real people making real mistakes and finding redemption, make sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching. Remember, it's never too late to do the right thing.